I know there's a lot of people out there that look down on content mills. A lot of times this is because that you really don't earn a lot of money when it comes to paper word. But if it wasn't for content mills like Textbroker, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm Michael with WriterSanctuary, and today I'm going to talk about how I went from Textbroker to being the content marketing team lead of a prominent web hosting company. I do a lot of content regarding Textbroker, and that's because it's helped me out quite a bit since the beginning. I know a lot of people say, well, you should go out and get your own private clients and stuff like that to make more money, when that's true. But with Textbroker, you can just pick up an order and go. Granted, you don't make as much money as, say, if someone gives you a retaining contract. But from a beginning writer's perspective, content mills like Textbroker are greatly beneficial. When I first started writing for Textbroker, I was working for the school district as a IT specialist. At the time, I was making $8 an hour. Out in the middle of nowhere, they can get away with charging far less than what you're actually worth. And since there wasn't really any jobs in the area that were close to my qualifications, I decided to look online. Now, I remember a friend of mine trying Textbroker for the first time, and he completed his first article, but they rated him a 3-star level, and he went absolutely apeshit over it. He thought that his content was the best in the world, and how dare they rate him a 3-star. Now, he was extremely angry over it. So he gave up on Textbroker. About 4 or 5 months after that period, that's when I decided I'll give it a try. I've always had an interest in writing, I just really never pursued it. Well, outside of a few short stories in high school and a couple at Job Corps, and I did submit a manuscript when I was 12 years old to Doubleday. That didn't go very far. But I've always had an interest in writing in everything I've ever done. I've done data entry, I've converted handwritten text to documents, I typed up insurance policies. The majority of the work that I've ever done involved me sitting in front of a keyboard. So I decided to give Textbroker a try. I submitted my first article and I got ranked a 3-star, which is about okay because I've never done it before. In the past, most of my careers were always around insurance or computer technology. So after the first one, it took about 10 days for Textbroker to come back to me, and at that point I went ahead and did my initial 5, because you have to do 5 and they gauge your star level accordingly. Once I passed the initial 5 from Textbroker, I had free run of the 3-star area. Now keep in mind, this was also after a full day of work at the school district. During any given day, I was at 3 or 4 different schools all day long. So by the time I got home, I was pretty tired. So I'd pick up an article or two and try to crack it out and call it a day. Just because I needed some kind of money, anything really, to offset some of the money that I was losing every week from working at the school district. And at first I was bouncing between $20 and $50 a week, just something to give me gas money in the truck. And it only took me about an hour or so to write, so I figured, it's worth it. But as time progressed, I started doing more and more. I found that I had an incredible interest in freelance writing. Back in those days, Textbroker really didn't have a lot of work continuously throughout the year. There would be days where I'd have like 0 articles, and then there would be other days where there'd be like 50 or 60 ready for me to do. And because I liked freelance writing so much, I decided to expand what I did. So I'd leave Textbroker open on one tab, and then I'd apply to other ones, like WriterAccess.com was the next one I tried. And it was similar to Textbroker in almost every regard, except for its editing system was a little bit wonky at first. It wasn't nearly as sleek as Textbroker, but the pay was comparable. So when I got home from work, I'd have Textbroker open on one screen, or tab, and then I had WriterAccess open on another. Throughout the day, I'd just bounce back and forth, depending on who had work. But I found Textbroker far easier to get orders on, both direct orders and in the open pool. So I focused most of my efforts on Textbroker while still taking a look at WriterAccess periodically. I also liked Textbroker more because I was getting paid per week as opposed to WriterAccess, which I only got paid once a month. Still, it was money. As I was writing articles, I would get comments from the editors telling me what I could do to improve it and why it's not scoring higher. Most of the time it was my usage of commas. The commas were my bane for a year and a half. And they did point out that my content was far too clinical than what it should be. In other words, they were telling me that I wrote like a IKEA manual if it was on volume. So I worked on that. Every suggestion that Textbroker editors gave me, I would take to Google and research how to fix it. There's pretty much nothing you can't find in Google. So over the months, my skills evolved and I became a far better writer. I spent time researching AP style English because that's what Textbroker requires. In fact, that's what just about anybody requires. So I'd take to all kinds of different websites and I would look up anything that had anything to do with AP style. blog posts, news articles, everything. I read through it all. Something else I decided to jump into was spend time researching SEO techniques. Now, I'm not talking about meta tags and keywords and stuff like that, but when it comes to writing content for online sources, and which most Textbroker clients are going to be, knowing a bit of how the SEO structure is for content helps out tremendously. In fact, once I started putting more SEO practices into my content, I saw far fewer and fewer revision requests. That's because clients love it. In fact, I had a bunch of them coming back to me for direct orders simply because I kept SEO in mind. I'm not saying that you have to put in SEO to be a success, but for me it helped out tremendously. As I was developing my skills, I decided to start a blog. Now, this blog was to help me learn by giving me a platform to practice on. So everything that the Textbroker editors told me I could do and change, I would take to that blog and I would put in what I could and try to help myself learn. Mostly because I'm one of those type of people who learn through practice. So I would start blogging and I'd start trying to keep in mind all the things that the Textbroker editors were telling me and all the things that I learned for AP style and SEO. And in the beginning, that blog was WriterSanctuary.com. It was not meant to be monetized, it was just a platform for me to practice. I was kind of hoping that it would drive some traffic, which is why I named the domain instead of just doing a subdomain on my original website. But initially it was mostly for me to learn how to write better and perhaps maybe help somebody else that came across the website. So as the time marched on, I kept writing after work every day, and it was kind of tiring because there would be nights where I wouldn't be done till like 7 or 8. But those $20 and $50 weeks were turning into $100 weeks from Textbroker. Eventually I got to the point where I could prove to my family and myself that I was able to write full time and make more money than I would if I was working in the school district. So I quit the school district and I became a full-time writer using pretty much nothing but Textbroker. I still did WriterAccess and I tried Fiverr out a couple of times, but when it came down to how much money I was making, it was Textbroker that I kept going to. And that move was back in 2013 or 14, I remember, if I remember right. I can't remember exactly what year it was. Had to be in the middle of 2013 because I remember working in the school district at least 2 different summers. So as time marched on and I began writing more often and creating far more content, I was doing 10 orders a day on average. At that point my goal was 10,000 words a day inside of an 8-hour period. Most of the time I'd write for maybe 6 hours because I had to do other things like do chores like going to the store or taking somebody to lunch or trying to fix somebody's computer because I still had computer clients on the side. So doing about 6 hours a day, I was still pulling in anywhere between $350 to $400 a week. There was a couple times where I reached 500 simply because I got invited to 5-star teams even though I was only 4 stars at the time. That's because I'm incredibly easy to work with and I'm very good at what I do. And some of those 5-star teams were a lot of fun, and it's kind of sad that they took their business elsewhere or they quit, I don't know, but the team just kind of disappeared after a while. Still, making $50 inside of an hour worth of content, it's not too bad. So after a few years of just grilling out Textbroker, I started promoting myself as a professional on various social media websites. WriterSanctuary had its own, still has its own, Facebook page and Twitter account, and then I decided to go ahead and expand and jump into LinkedIn. I didn't promote myself on social media like I should have, I think. If I would have put more effort into it, I probably would have got clients far faster. But the income I was making from Textbroker was more than what I needed. I was kind of always stuck in the hole doing the bare minimum to survive, and it really hurt me in the long run. So if I would have thought about it back then, I so would have put more effort into marketing myself on social media as a freelance writer, especially on Facebook and LinkedIn. Now Twitter is more like a social arena. It's not really geared towards getting clients. Don't get me wrong, you probably still find clients on Twitter, it's just not very often. In fact, out of all the clients that have approached me since I started promoting myself, all of them came from Facebook and LinkedIn. Not a single one of them came from Twitter. So after a while of having my LinkedIn profile set up, I was approached by my current retaining client. They wanted to give me a try, and I went ahead and created some articles for them, and I've been on contract with them ever since. And that was back in 2017. I started writing tutorials, blog posts, and infographics for them. I was always able to meet demands. I changed my tactics for them. I expanded my knowledge of SEO, but it all boils down to I turned myself into one hell of a writer. And because I did put so much effort into fine-tuning my skills, they kept throwing as much work as they could at me. After a while, the company decided to expand how many authors it had, so they hired a few more writers. But they were quick to point out that I was the alpha dog and they should do what I say. So I wasn't officially the manager, but I was the go-to person for a newbie who needed to learn how to write, because I delivered exactly what they were looking for. So after a couple of years, my manager got promoted to a new position, and so they needed a new content marketing team lead. Because I have seniority, experience, and I'm extremely easy to work with, they gave it to me. So now I manage a group of writers, a social media person or two, and I got a bump in pay. That came with a lot more responsibilities, and my workload did double. But it's easily one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. I'm pretty excited because we're doing good things for the company, and I can't wait to see what's next. So that's it. That's how Textbroker helped me morph into content mills to being hired by a private client. Now there's sometimes I'll take a look at Textbroker. I'll get direct orders sometimes, and I get a lot of messages still, so I'll still check Textbroker once in a while. But lately, all my time is spent with this client because they send me to WordCamps. I've got all this different team stuff I have to do. I just help doing the Getting Started guide. We're going to be producing videos soon. So there's still quite a bit that this company's want me to do. So that's why I haven't really put too much time into Textbroker lately, and why I didn't really create that many videos last month. But it all boils down to how Textbroker taught me how to write in AP-style English and interact with clients. I can't say that you'll have the same experience or that you should always just use content mills and say to hell with private clients, because that's not the case at all. You'll always make far more money with a private client than you will with Textbroker. But if you're a new person just learning the ropes of freelance writing, content mills are a great place to learn. And speaking from experience, a lot of places out there will not hire you unless you have some kind of background, unless you have proven that you're able to write the content. In fact, now with as much background as I had, my position requires a bachelor's degree, which I don't have. But they gave it to me anyway because I demonstrate experience. So start off with Textbroker, fine-tune your writing skills, put effort into client engagement, and then after a while, start branching out. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Those are basically my 10 steps on how I moved from content mills to being where I'm at today. Perhaps my best piece of advice I can give you is to never give up and to keep pushing and learn everything you possibly can about freelance writing if you want to be serious about it. Now, you may not have the same experience I did, but it'll be unique. And if you need any help, feel free to contact me. I'll do what I can to help you. So if you're a new freelance writer, what prompted you to try it out? Leave it in the comments down below. For me, it was just to offset a paycheck that was paltry. But if you found the video informative, hit the like button. If you want to learn more about Textbroker, freelance writing, or any other topics that I cover, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Well, that's going to do it for me today. I'll see you tomorrow.